Now, you're muted, but if you have a question, please feel free to unmute and ask the question. We're going to start off by painting our canvas with the underpainting first so that we give it a chance to dry. So I'm going to move directly to the easel. Once we have the underpainting in place, I'll go over some of the palette and the sketches and so forth with you. So for the underpainting, I'm going to use a big brush for this, probably about an inch. I already played with a little bit of color just to see what it would be like. I suggest very much that you thin your paint considerably. I'm starting off with a touch of ultramarine, a fairly good amount of white because I want it to to be more of a middle value in the background. I'm making this pretty light. I'm going to start off by putting a little bit of blue. I put some green in already. I'm going to put a little bit of blue. You don't have to have anything on your canvas. I was just playing with color.
Excuse me, do you have a picture of what we're going to be doing?
Yes, Candace, did you not receive that email that has the picture?
Yeah, it's two cardinals, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just didn't yeah. Great. Yep, I got it.
Yeah. So we're doing the underpainting first, and then we'll go over the photo and the palette. I want to make sure that your underpainting has a chance to dry before we start actually painting. So last week we did a little different. We sketched it first and then painted around the figures. Since we have multiple figures this week, we're going to be painting the background first. So bear with me. Okay, now I have this mixture that I just made with the ultramarine. I'm putting a touch of red in it and a lot more white. And I'm going to use this as an underpainting. I also suggest you thin this. So if you're using acrylic, your thinner is going to be water. If you're using oil, use whatever linseed oil or other thinner you might be using. You don't really have to do this perfectly. You're just getting some background color in place. So don't worry, about getting it too even or if you have your red in the exact same place that I put my red, don't worry about any of that. You just want to have something that's about a 2 or 3 value so that all of the colors that you put are going to show up against it. So the background should be close to a middle value. So nothing too complicated. Give it a second to dry. When you're done, don't touch it. We're going to let this sit up and rest. So whenever you've reached a point where you've got your background painted in, make Make sure there are no hard edges in your background. There's no linear shapes or architectural looking shapes. It should just be very dreamy.
Sean, should we clean our brush?
Yeah, if you're done with
You're
your
done.
background, yeah. All right. Give me a thumbs up if you're finished with your background. Thank you, Kate. Thanks, Candy. All right, let's limit this to 1 more minute. Thank you, Lynn. Okay, so we need to let this dry. I'm going to switch over to the other camera for a minute. The palette we're using tonight's a little bit different than last week in that I'm using cadmium red medium. So normally I use alizarin crimson. Cadmium red medium is a truer red. It's more of a fire engine red. And you can get better reddish orange. Whereas alizarin crimson, it has a little bit of blue in it. So it tends to be more of a red violet. So your palette for tonight is cadmium red medium, ultramarine blue, cadmium yellow medium, and then black and white. So we're not using umber or any other browns. We're going to be mixing all of the colors that we need from the three primaries plus black and white. So as you're setting up your palette, The brushes I'm going to use are pretty much all brights. So brights and rounds. These are some of the rounded shapes. I just dropped one on the floor. One is a liner that I can create long, thin lines with. I'm going to put these up against the palette so you can see them. None of these are very big. They're all fairly small. Most of them are maybe ones or twos. Okay, once you have your palette in place, I want to go over the composition real quick. Now, in this composition, the rule of thirds, when I sketched it out as a value sketch, I made the rule of thirds intersection right on the female's beak because that's where the lightest light and the darkest dark tend to meet. So I want to pull the eye over to the intersection of the rule of thirds right about here and then bring that down a little bit. So in doing this, I'm changing the composition from the original photograph a little. That means if the intersection is here, there's going to be a little bit more space up above the heads. So they're going to be further down on the composition. In doing the sketch, I realized like this creates a wonderful pattern where the lights from the flowers reflect onto the birds, and there's some highlights on the birds that pull your eye right through. So I'm going to play that up. I think that works really well. So you can see that a little better in the color study, how the pattern of lights pulls your eye right to the focal point. So the having done these studies ahead of time helped me to solve a couple of problems with the painting before they began. Now, full disclosure, I did this in pastel last night. So this is with a little extra space up at the top. I like the composition a lot better. I think it works this way. So I'm going to stick to it. Okay, does everyone have their palette and brushes set up? Give me a thumbs up if you have your palette and brushes set up. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Florence. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Candy. Thanks, Florence. Gotcha. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our rule of thirds on on the painting. I'm going to be using a white pastel to do this so that well, actually, can't really see that. Try to get something that you can see on the camera. So something a little darker. This is blue. Okay, do something a little more accurate. There we go. Now, these lines I'm making are with the pastel pencil. I want to test by erasing them with a little bit of water on a towel and they erase. So close enough. All right. Now, I don't really care how you get your image from the photo reference onto your canvas. I find it a lot easier to do a transfer. If you want to take a couple of seconds and do the drawing, that's fine with me. So we're going to spend about 5 minutes getting the drawing onto the surface however you wish. Use your rule of thirds lines as a help here. So remember, we're lining up the female's eyes with the rule of thirds, so the female's beak. I think it's mostly dry. Okay, one more minute to finish your sketch. Okay, now that we have our sketch in place, we have our background painted, we are going to work from dark to light to paint these two birds in. So we're going to be painting the whole painting at the same time, working methodically from dark to light. So I'm going to start off with the darkest dark, which uh, right around the bird's feet. And this is going to be pure black. I know, take a big deep breath before you load up your brush. It's always hard to go so dark straight from the get-go. I'm using a small brush for this. I don't want to use the liner, so I'm getting one that's small, but not quite as small as a liner. I'm putting it in the water first so that it's damp, and this will help the paint to come off of it smoother. When I load it with paint, I'm just getting paint on the very tip. I don't want to have paint gobbing up the brush. I just keep it on the very tip, so this keeps it smooth and flowing. I'm going to start close to the bird's beak and then making little brush strokes that mimic the feathers. Always paint as if you're sculpting what you see. So you want to get the dimension of those feathers. Also painting the center part, the pupil in the eye. While I have this color on my brush, I'm going to add it in between the wing feathers and the tail feathers on the female bird. Notice that on the male bird, there's a tuft of black right under the bird's beak. That's very fluffy. So you make your brush strokes fluffy. Mimic that texture. Add a little bit of that black under the wing feathers on the male bird and on the tail feathers as well to create some texture. All right. I'm not cleaning this brush. Instead, I'm dipping it in the red, the cadmium red, taking a little bit of red, mixing it with black, and this is giving me a dark brown, dark brown. So with this dark brown, I'm going to use this to help delineate the branch underneath the cardinal. I'm skipping places where there's flowers. All right. I'm still not cleaning this brush. I'm dipping the brush in yellow, taking a little touch of yellow, adding it to the mixture, which I turned brown, and I'm making it just a little lighter, brighter brown. And this is for the cardinal's eye. So I'm going lighter brown with yellow mixed in with the red and black that we just did for the tree lamp. And with this lighter brown, I'm going to carefully put that right under the pupil on the female and as a lower lid on the male. All right, if anyone needs another minute, give me a wave. Okay, one more minute. So just to reiterate that brown was created by adding a touch of yellow in with a mixture that was red and black before, and that gives you a beautiful brown. That brown I used for the eyes on the male and the female, and it's just a little semicircle around the pupil. You can also use it to separate the upper and lower beak. Okay. Now we're going to work on some of the color on the female. It's very close to the brown we just made. It's one step lighter. We have all of our fives in place at this point, so we're moving to some of the fours. So with the brown that we just made, I'm going to put a small touch of white in it, just white. This is going to take it one value lighter. You can see the difference between the brown with the white in it and the brown that had the yellow in it. So it's one step lighter. I'm going to test this on the reference photo before I use it. This is for the shadow part. Okay, it could be a little bit darker, so I'm going to mix a little more of that paint in with it. There we go. Give it a test. All right, close enough. So with this darker color, the part of the female bird that's up against the male bird, the wing, is in the shadowy brown. Now I did switch to a different brush. This one's a 1/2 inch flat. So you can set your other brush aside or wash it. You don't want to use your tiny brush for this. I'm going to take some of that brown up around the face too. And this is more for underpainting.
Sean, did you put any yellow in there? Because she looks real gold on my screen, but
Yes, it
okay.
it had yellow in it from where I mixed it for the eye. And then I
Okay.
just lightened that with some white.
Okay.
So yeah, there's some yellow in it, definitely. You want to have her a little shady looking.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. All right. While this paint is still wet, we're going to manipulate it and make some of the other feathers on her chest. So notice that the browner feathers are overlapped by some light yellow feathers. So I'm going to put yellow, a lot more yellow in it. So if you didn't already put yellow, you're going to be mixing yellow, and I'm going back with that small brush. A little bit of white. So now this mixture is another value lighter than the shadow. So with the small brush, I can get more texture for the feathers. So once you have your color mixed, if you want to test it, give it a little test on the chest feathers. It should be lighter than what's already on the chest, but it's not white. So we want to make sure we're not using too much white. With that lighter color, start at the bird's chin and make linear strokes. Linear strokes are where you pull the paint in thin lines following the pattern in the feathers. Remember, you can thin the paint if you're having trouble getting the paint on the brush to be thin or to get the lines thinner. Reminder, this is all about texture. So you want to have 1,000 little brush strokes to get the texture of the feathers. All right, so now you have some light golden color on that female. I'm not cleaning the brush. This is the same brush. I am going to take a little white, mix it with some yellow, pure yellow, and I'm making a light yellow. So not too light. It's still very vibrant in color. And I'm going to put a few highlight feathers in light yellow on the chest, right around the head. Remember to keep your paint thin if you're having trouble getting thin lines. While your paint is still wet, we're going to have to move quick through this because we don't want to let the paint set up and dry. So while it's still wet, take your brush. You've used all the paint on it, so there's no paint left. Dip it in the water and then thin down some cadmium red so that the red is very, very thin on the brush. Same brush. If it has a little of the other color on it, mazel tov. You're good to go. Now, on the top knot of the female, starting at the top knot, create some texture where you're pulling some of that red down towards the face, right over the eye. There's a little patch of red. And then on the throat and around the chest. So you're just putting some highlights, some texture. All right. While you have that red on your brush, you can bring a little bit of it down to the wing and create some lines on that wing. I'm also putting some of that red on the underside of the beak and on the top part of the beak right next to the line that separates the beak. All right, is everybody caught up? Give me a wait if you need another minute. I know I'm going quick, but I don't want your paint to dry up on you. All right, good. So at this point, we have a little bit of red on our cardinal, on our female cardinal. We're going to do one more little touch, and then we'll move over to the male cardinal. I know it feels as if we're completely painting this female cardinal, but we're actually just blocking in the areas that need to be painted before we can get to the other values. So at this point, the paint is mostly dry. So we're going to go ahead and just move to the male cardinal. I think this is a good time to transition. Now, the darkest dark on the male cardinal, we've already put in the shadow underneath. We're going to make a cooler version of red. So what that looks like is we have our cadmium red medium. I'm taking a little bit of it off to one side, and I'm putting a very small amount of blue. So this is going to give that cadmium red medium more of an alizarin crimson look. I'm going to mix quite a bit of it and then test it on my reference photo. So the color is red, but it's a little more subdued than the pure cadmium red. So you can see the difference between those two colors. Then I'm going to test it. This is the color of the wing and the tail. So I'm following the pattern of the feathers and making brush strokes that mimic the feathers. Pay very close attention to your brush strokes. Let your brush strokes be linear, which is side by side lines to create that illusion of feathers. Now notice that the whole breast or stomach area of this bird is a little bit darker. than the rest. So we're going to use this same color all on the belly. All right, when you're finished putting that color on the male cardinal, take it over to the female and use that color for the tail. All right, we're going to do one more color and then have our mid-class check-in. So finish up with the red. All right, the last color is pure red. So this is actually we'll probably do two colors. So the pure red by itself, I'm just getting the same brush, dipping the end of it in pure red. I'm going to test it out here right under the wing, see how much of a contrast there is with that other red. Pretty good. So with the pure red, I'm going to create some texture on the chest of the male. So I'm making my brush strokes follow the pattern. I'm starting right under the chin and pulling the paint down on top. I think this could use a little bit more contrast, so I'm going to take some yellow, mix it with the red, just a touch of yellow and make it a little brighter so it's reddish orange. And that'll make it really pop. Again, dip your paintbrush in the water if you need to keep the paint flowing, and let the texture of your brush strokes mimic the texture of the feathers. When you get to the top knot, stop because we're going to go one step brighter for the top knot. All right, now for the top knot, we're going to take a big chunk of yellow, mix it in with the paint that you're already using, and you're making orange. Same brush, using the orange, we're going to start at the forehead and then follow the pattern of hair with feathers and let your brush strokes trail off so that the top knot looks very wispy. You know, we're going to be adding more highlights to this bird, so you don't have to get them all done right this second. We'll be adding another layer of highlights. All right, this is about the halfway point. So when you reach it and you're ready for a second pair of eyes on your painting, give me a wave. Lynn, I'm sorry I didn't see your hand. You're in the spotlight.
Thanks. All
Hey,
right. All right, there's some, ignore the white because I got my black kind of crazy on his beak area.
I know how that goes.
So I just wanted to pop some on there.
Good, good. So on the female,
Mm-hmm.
we need about 100 brush strokes in a buttery yellow white color
Okay.
on around her throat.
Okay.
And that's it. Make sure you keep the belly rounded on the male.
Okay.
Very rounded shape down there.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Looking beautiful. Anyone else ready for a second pair of eyes? Okay, Florence. Oh, Florence, that's looking so pretty.
Mute.
Love it. Love it. That's looking really beautiful.
I
So,
hadn't done the male beak yet. I didn't know. I have to look and see what color it is because I hadn't printed it out. I was looking at in my phone. But
okay.
did we do the beak yet from the male?
So as we're painting, when I have the color on my brush, I usually take it up to the beak. But
Yeah. Okay. I
it,
forgot his beak.
it isn't crucial, and I will go over that with everyone so we can do it at the same time. The only problem is make sure that the tail on the female is attached to the female. It goes behind the branch. So go ahead and paint the branch through so that it goes through both of her feet and it goes over her tail.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
Good.
so she does. She only has a left foot and not a right foot.
Now she has both feet. The,
Uh,
the, the feet are grasping a hold of the branch.
Yeah, I haven't done the feet yet. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to do the feet, but you do have to do the branch because the branch is in front of the tail.
In front of the tail. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Okay. I'm sure. I'll do that.
Yeah, good. That, that's it. All right. Anybody else ready? Kate, you look ready. Are you ready?
I'm pretty frustrated. It's everything is wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
I doubt that.
Like I think the background is way too pink and light and
Bring it up close because it's focusing on your face instead.
Is that in focus?
It's a little better. It's not quite in focus. It's okay. So the eye on the male is a little out of proportion.
Yeah.
Let me see the whole thing again. I don't think the background is that bad. I would say wait till the end because I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking the same thing myself as I'm painting. Let's wait till the end, and the bird should be lighter than the background. If not, we can always make the birds darker than the background. And as long as you're one way or another, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Let me see the female again. Okay, beautiful. The texture you have on the feathers is exquisite. So, yeah, let's keep going through it and fix the eye on him, and I think we'll be good to go for the rest of it.
I'm at that messy middle.
Yeah, it's never as bad as you think it is. Somebody else is going to look at it and say, "Oh, I wish I could paint like that." All right. Bruce or Candy or okay, Candy, and putting you in the spotlight. Don't forget to unmute. Oh, they look so lovely. Uh, Candy, I would let your branches go off the canvas,
Oh, okay.
you know, and the female looks beautiful. Don't be too careful with your brush strokes. Let them be loose and brushy, and that'll give more texture to the birds. On the male, be careful with the back and the back of the head. So I see that you're thinning down his head at this point. Be careful with that because his head is actually very rounded. And then there's a rounded shape on the top part of his wing that got painted over.
I've had a terrible time controlling the black. Every time I put red in it, it picks up the black because I must have used too much black when I started or got it
Are
too
you
deep.
are you using oils?
I'm using oils.
Okay. Yeah, so the black is still going to be very wet. So
Yeah.
next time, very little of it. You can use a cloth of some kind and lift up some of that black if you need to. Ah, got lots of them. Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bruce, are you ready for? Okay, looks like you are. Ah, okay. So, Bruce, you have all of the right colors. The shapes look terrific. Let your brush strokes be very loose, like you're doing. I love the male cardinal. You really got a nice amount of texture on that cardinal, so I think you're good to go with it. On the female cardinal, let her tail be a little bit wider, maybe on both of them. Let the tails be wider. There's going to be a lot of layers of feathers on those tails. You're muted, so if you're talking, keep that in mind.
There we go.
Okay, now you're unmuted. The camera's turned around.
Yeah, I just got a bit behind there, so trying to catch up.
All right, it looks like you're caught up. All right, I think I got everyone. We're going to go over the beaks real quick and make sure we have those beaks in place. So if you haven't painted the beaks, we'll do the beaks together. The beaks, I'm starting off with pure red, getting just a little bit on the brush. The bottom part of the beak on the male is brighter and red, and then there's a line of red right at the break between the upper and lower beak. Then I'm dipping the same brush in yellow. I don't have any red left on it. There's just a touch left. And with that yellow, It mixes with the red as I put it on there. I'm going to go a little over at the bottom so that the top beak goes over the bottom by, is like an overbite. And then the last part, I'm just dipping the tip of the brush in white paint. I've already used up all the yellow that was on it. And with the white paint, I'm putting the highlight on the very top curved part of the beak, brushing that into the paint to mix it. All right, on the female, I'm starting off with a little orange instead of red. So I'm just mixing some yellow in with some red. I have orange on the brush, orange for the bottom part of the beak, orange for the top part right where the line is. Then I'm dipping it into yellow, painting the yellow from the center part of the beak, letting it mix with the orange. And then last, I'm dipping into the white, and just a little white on the tip, and putting the highlight on the female beak. Okay, so we're moving to the twos and the threes. We've already put in the fives and the fours. We have a lot of the threes in place. So we're going to finish those up and move to the twos. Just check in with you guys. Is everyone ready to proceed? If you need another minute, give me a quick wave. Okay, one more minute. All right, looks like everybody's caught up. A wave if you need another minute. Excellent. All right, so we're going to go back to the female cardinal for a moment and create a little more texture on her feathers. So I'm going to mix a very light yellow color. I'm putting some yellow on a clean spot here. I'm going to mix a little white in with this yellow, maybe a little more. I want this to be very buttery, so almost the look of melted butter. All right. Now I want to start at her top knot and put some of this highlight. Hopefully this color will help separate her from the background quite a bit too. So I'm making about 100 little brush strokes here to create the texture. Get a lot of this on her chest. The top part of her body is warmer, so you see a lot more of that warm yellow up there. The bottom part of her body is cooler, so we're going to mix a different color for that part. All right, with the same brush and the same light yellow color, I'm going to put a few petals on the flowers that are lighter. So the flowers that are above the branch are catching sunlight. The ones that are facing downward or facing the below the birds are not catching the sunlight, so they're going to be cooler. So paint a few of the petals that are facing upward, a warmer yellow, light yellow, yellow white color. All right. Now we're going to move to a light blue. So we've done the warm parts of the light hitting the flowers. Then we're going to do the cool part. So I'm starting off with white. I rinsed my brush and I'm picking up a small amount of blue and mixing with it. This is about the tiniest amount of blue you can possibly get. You want something super, super light, so it's almost white. Now compare this to the warm color that we just made. You can see there's a subtle difference between the two. One is way warmer, one is cooler. With the cooler color, we're using this on the female's stomach. So this shows where her body is turning away from the light. So this is like the underbelly. And again, probably about 100 little brush strokes to make that texture. And then use that light blue color on some of the petals that are facing under the branch, that are facing down or away from the light. All right. When you put a bunch of the flowers in with the light blue, thin the paint down by dipping your brush in the water and use that same light blue to create a highlight on the branch so that you're creating a little texture on the branch underneath the bird. We haven't put the feet in yet, so we'll be doing that soon. Right. The same color we're going to use as a highlight on the male. So it's sort of like lemning we did last week, but instead the whole backside of the male has a very light, cool bluish color. And that's the highlight on the back and the feathers. So I'm using the liner brush for this. I've thinned the paint down and I'm just making lots of little strokes to create that texture. You know, again, I can't emphasize enough, follow the pattern on the feathers with your brush so that you're creating those feathers with each brush stroke. Use the same color to put the highlight in the eye. All right, bear with me. We just have a little bit more to do. Now, you've used this light blue for the highlight on the back of the nail, for the highlights on the eyes. Rinse your brush, clean it. We're going to get a little bit of pure yellow on this brush. And on the male cardinal, we're going to put a few highlight strokes of pure yellow right on the chest. And this will help give some texture. So again, you want to do about 100 little brush strokes that following the pattern of the feathers. Notice that the warmest, yellowest feathers on the male cardinal are on the face and the head. Right. When you're finished with that yellow highlight, make a take a little bit of red, mix it with the yellow so that you're getting orange. Add some blue to the orange. This is going to make it dark and brownish, neutralizing. And we're going to use that color to do the legs and the feet. So the feet, you don't see all of the feet, you just see the parts that are wrapping around the branch. All right, when you're finished with those little bitty birdie feet, use the same brush, thin the red, mix it with red. And we're going to use this to put the stamens in the flowers. So the stamens are the little dots of red that you see. And then each one of them, you don't have to show the parts that connect them, but each one of those flowers has a red center too. Now it's more of a pink, but we're going to keep it red so that there's some color harmony with the cardinals. All right, so this is the last part. So take your time with it. You're basically putting the centers and some of the texture in the flowers. Don't feel like you have to do every single flower or spell out every petal. Instead, the more impressionistic you can be with this, the better it's going to wind up looking. We're simplifying the flowers quite a bit as it is. So keep it simple and just give us the impression of a bunch of little cherry blossoms or whatever type flowers those are. All right. Don't do too much else to it. Once you have those petals in place, you have the little red towards the center. That's it. That's my story. I'm going to stick to it. I don't want to overwork a simple painting, so I'm going to hold it right there and have coffee with it in the morning if it needs something else. Now remember, you don't really need every single petal or flower to be discernible. You just need to give the impression. So when you reach a stopping point, and that's your story too, let's take a look. This is such a sweet little Valentine's Day painting, isn't it?
Yes, it's true.
I read that the male cardinals feed the female cardinals using their beak. Isn't that sweet?
What do they do? I didn't understand.
The male cardinals feed the female cardinals, like when
Oh,
they're
yeah.
on the nest and so forth.
Yeah, yeah.
They bring food and feed them from their beak, like beak to beak.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you see how close they're sitting together.
Very sweet. All right. Whenever anyone is ready, give me a little wave and I'll put you in the spotlight. We'll take a look at the finished product. Bruce, is that a wave? Don't forget to unmute. Hey, Bruce.
Have I got it flipped there? I'm kind of out of time with this, so I've got to do some more work on the flowers.
Okay. Back up a little
But
bit so we can see.
yeah,
Okay, there we go. Oh, I love your choice of canvas. That's
yes.
certainly different. Okay, bring it in a little closer. Bruce, for some reason, it just muted you again.
There we
Okay,
go.
good. All right, so the birds, the texture on the birds looks really beautiful. The birds have a nice relationship between them, like you can see they're looking at each other. The
Right.
tails still need to be a little fuller.
Yes, I can see that now.
Yeah. And once you put all those flowers in, I think it'll make a big difference.
Right.
Now, Bruce, promise me you won't make those flowers in a pattern.
All right. I promise you. Whether I
Okay.
can keep the promise or not, I don't know.
I would love to see this next week when you're
Okay.
finished. But the notice that those flowers go above in the center and underneath that branch. So they
Yeah.
wrap around the branch, and in some places they totally obscure the branch.
Yeah, no,
Let
I
them,
just ran out of time. I started to do a couple down here, and then I just kind of, I need to have a little break.
gotcha. Okay, my friend, that's good. So
All
when
right.
you finish it up, I would love to see it. Looking
I'll do
good so
some work.
far.
Yeah, I'll do some work on it during the week.
Wonderful. Thank you, my friend. All right. Candy, you look like you're ready. Oh, you're muted, my friend.
Unmute.
Good. Good job. Oh, Candy, the two birds are relating to each other very
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, I love the intimacy there. Um, bring it a little closer. Okay, good, good. Nice texture on those feathers. Tilt it down.
Well, then you lose the
That's
light.
better.
That's the only
Well,
thing.
the light was creating a glare and
Oh,
it
okay.
distorted the shapes. So I am checking the shape on the female. Like look at the shape of her head.
Yeah.
The top knot is correct, and then she starts to get a little bit wider. And the wideness on yours, it's too perfect. Like it's a perfect arc there. But
Oh, I see.
actually, right around the head, there's a neck, an indentation where the neck goes, and then
Mhm.
the rest of the body. So I would go ahead and lift that up while
Excellent.
it's still wet.
Yeah.
The flowers are beautiful. Everything else is spot on.
Okay.
Spot
Great.
on.
Thank you.
Nice shape to the birds.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. Kate, are you ready? I saw the arm up. Okay, good. I'll put you in the spotlight.
Probably gonna need a lot more work, but
Oh,
That's
wow.
That's
great.
good.
Yeah. That's very
Oh, Kate, your little female is so charming, and the male is beautiful, beautiful. I would add one more stroke to his tail and thicken up that tail just a bit more. I can see you're not quite finished with the blossoms, but the way that you have them it now is so painterly and beautiful. So don't put too much detail on those blossoms, okay?
yeah, I like the
Remember, they're like,
blossoms more than the birds.
oh, I love the birds.
Thank you.
I think the birds look really pretty. You know, you may feel different about this when you step back and see it at a distance. Just don't let
I
those
like it better than
blossoms.
I did earlier, but yeah, definitely need to step away from it.
Good, good, beautiful work.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else ready? All right, Florence, if you'd like to unmute. Don't forget to unmute.
Okay,
There you go.
good.
Okay.
So here she is.
Oh, oh, Florence.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I'm proud of
your
myself.
flowers, your flowers are really painterly and beautiful. I
Thank
love
you.
them. The male cardinal is perfect. I wouldn't do anything different with him. The female cardinal, I
Yeah,
would make her eye a little bigger and tone down the blue on her belly.
Okay. But I had difficulties with going around the eye, how to do the highlights. I didn't really know how to do that. And then the black got a little bit too much, but yeah. Okay. How do I get the eye to shine?
So remember, the black is the pupil.
Yeah.
There's there's a brown circle around the pupil.
Yeah. Okay.
There, the very top of the circle is going to be light blue, and that will give you the shine, the highlight. So you
Okay.
did it on the male. So just
Yeah, I put a little bit of white on his eye. Yeah, look, I can tell. Yeah, you see?
but instead of white, use light blue.
Blue, light blue. Okay, yeah. Well, it was a little bit blue, I think, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I also think they're
exactly.
looking at each other. They look like they're in love.
They do. They do. Did a great job with them.
Thank you. It was fun.
Lynn, are you ready for your few seconds in the spotlight, my friend? Don't forget to unmute. Hey,
There she is.
how are those pretty little lovebirds? I love your flowers. The male looks good. Be careful with that highlight because there's a lot of highlight in places where there's not light. So be
Okay.
careful with that.
And
On the
flowers.
female, I would go a little bit bluer on the belly.
Okay.
The texture you have on the chest is working. Bring she has like Farrah Fawcett hair. It goes out pretty far to the side. So go ahead and bring it all the way out to the side there.
Oh,
Also,
okay.
her eye, the eye is a little bit high on the beak. It needs to be lower and out towards the hair more.
Okay. Yeah, I had a problem with my sketch, so okay.
That often happens when the eye doesn't get put in on the sketch. Sometimes it winds up in the wrong place, but that's an easy fix and it's not that much to
Hmm.
change it. So I would take the few minutes, if not tonight, then maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, make that effort. All right, that's beautiful. So you guys, this is a simple painting, which we often complicate. It is a pretty simple painting. The same process will be used on the homework assignment, which, the homework is really just for fun. It's another couple of cardinals, but with a sunset behind them. So for those of you who are beach livers, you will appreciate that. Those of you who live up north are going to appreciate the one with the blossoms. So I hope that this painting makes it up to our Facebook group. We have an online class feedback group on Facebook. And if you're not a member, please join up and post your finished pieces so that your peers can see what you did. It inspires other people. I hope you all have a very happy Valentine's Day. Thank you for joining me on this fun painting, and I'll send you the recording right after class.
What are we
Thanks,
doing
Sean.
next
Good night,
week?
everybody.
What are we doing
What's
next?
that?
What's our next painting, our next bird?
Well, the next bird is an egret. The pictures are up on the website if you want to see them,
Oh, okay.
but you'll get an email on Sunday that has all of the details and
Excellent.
the pictures.
Okay,
Okay?
beautiful. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
And
Candy,
for,
if you didn't get the recording, let me know.
Okay, I'll look.
for homework, Sean,
Mhm.
where is that picture?
It's attached to the email that has the recording.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Good night, lovely people.